Hey everyone, and welcome back to the 1v1 series, a series where we pit two DBD killers against one another based on stats and our 6 categories: strength, agility, stealth, power, resistance, and intelligence, to decide which one would come out victorious. Strength is an assessment of the killer's physical strength, agility is an assessment of how quickly they can move and strike their weapon, stealth is how stealthy they are, power is how effective or strong their power is, resistance is their ability to resist incoming direct attacks, and intelligence is an assessment of how smart or resourceful they are. With these scores and my own reasoning for each of the numbers, we will decide who I think would likely win in a 1v1 fight. I'm going to try and be as objective as possible and be without any bias. If you didn't know, this series is becoming a bit of a tournament. Here's the table so far for the first elimination round. The goal of this series being a search for the strongest killer in the game. Today we are seeing who would win in a 1v1 fight, the pig or the Ghostface. Here's what you guys thought. Let's begin with strength, and I think we're going to look at them both for this one at the same time, as I think it's fairly straightforward on how to rate them, as they are both pretty normal people, with nothing that indicates anything supernatural in regards to their strength or physical ability. I'm going to give them both a score of 6. Now, I realise that this is quite a blunt and outright scoring, but from what I can tell, this would be a pretty even matchup. I could maybe argue that it would require some strength for Pig to place reverse bear traps on survivors' heads, or that Ghostface has slightly higher strength because of his capability to one-hit down, maybe hinting at some more considerable force. However, Pig also has the potential to do this through her perk, Make Your Choice. I think overall, they're just basically two normal people, so a 6 for both of them here. On to agility. The thing with both of our killers on this one is that they're both quite agile, based on what we can gather from how they are capable of moving. Both can crouch, and then also become undetectable. Then they both also each have a unique other part to their movement. For Ghostface he can lean, and then for Pig she can do her ambush. Both of these movements or actions require quite a lot of agility. I think however that the Pig is slightly less agile, a fairly large reason being the pig head that she has to carry around the whole time. That thing really can't be anything short of heavy. It's like having 2 heads sitting on your shoulders, right? Ghostface doesn't so much have this problem, although he may have a slight problem in regards to his vision, as his mask looks to be somewhat restrictive for this. With all this said, Pig does gain a bit more back here, as when she does her ambush, she actually moves quite considerably faster, going from 4.6 meters per second to 6.9 meters per second. Pig and Ghostface's crouch speed, however, is on par. I think for these reasons I'm giving Ghostface an 8 and Pig a 7. This is mainly because of the restriction and weight of wearing a pig head, and also the fact that Pig's crouching ability is more restrictive in that she can't use her hidden blade while she's doing it. For stealth, Pig has a relatively good case, and so I'm giving her an 8. At the end of the day, I think we do classify her as a stealth killer, due to the fact that she can become undetectable on command. Even if it does restrict her movement by forcing her to crouch, she still becomes instantly and constantly undetectable, so she has to score high here in my opinion, despite going up against Ghostface, who's also super stealthy. Pig does however lose some points as her stealth is broken if she chooses to use her ambush move, where she roars prior to dashing forward with her blade. This is like the opposite of how you should ambush someone. This is why she can't really score any higher in my opinion, and furthermore, the fact that she has a huge pig head as her mask is kind of a drawback too. The thing is, she does win back points despite these drawbacks because of things like her perk Surveillance, which gives her extra elements of stealth and also tracking. An 8 for Pig. Ghostface in my opinion is the stealthiest stealth killer in the game, therefore I'm going to be giving him a 10. The only drawback I feel that Ghostface has is that he has a fairly bright white mask, which could be seen easier over his regular black clothes, as well as the fact that his stealth ability Night Shroud does have a short cooldown, although this can be fixed with various add-ons to be much shorter. The thing about Ghostface is that he's the killer that can activate stealth when he wants, for as long as he wants, as long as you don't get seen, and whilst doing so he also gains access to his ability to one-shot. Furthermore, he can crouch and lean, which make him much more agile as I mentioned before, but also more capable at stealth as he can move in much more preferable ways to get better angles and approach his targets with greater caution. Even when he's directly chasing, he does have his perk Furtive Chase, which makes his terror radius even smaller, which gives him even more of a slight bump to stealth, so for Ghostface, a solid 10. Okay, so for power, I think the Pig is an interesting case, as she has a lot to hers, and as I've said before, I really love it when killers have multifaceted, multi-ability powers. In the Pig's case, she has reverse bear traps. Of course, she also has her hidden blade, or her ambush, I guess. And finally, the ability to become stealthy and crouch. Together this makes her pretty powerful. With this said, despite her abundance of abilities, they're all still kind of just equipment, a bit like how Trapper just has his traps and Huntress just has her hatchets. These are just tools that she's using. It's not like there's a supernatural element to them like Wraith's ability to cloak. However, her equipment is also above being just regular tools, as they are specialized and self-made, with more complexity than a simple bear trap. So I'm assigning her a 7. Now, Ghostface is in a fairly similar spot. A lot like Pig, he actually has a decent amount to his power, although it's mainly small abilities here and there and not so much a range of items. Ghostface can crouch like Pig, however unlike Pig, he can do it much easier and without putting his weapon away. He can also enter his stealth mode standing up, he doesn't have to be crouched. This also means the crouch can simply be used without his Night Shroud active too. Furthermore, Ghostface can lean, which is something none of the other killers can do. With all of this in mind, I'm giving Ghostface an 8 for power, especially because his stalk allows for a one-shot down, which basically equates to a much more powerful blow, or deadly even maybe. For resistance, I'm going to rank both of them together again, and also give them the same score of 5. Now, this is fairly low, however I would argue that this is a pretty fair score considering they're both regular people, with their only protective clothing being Ghostface's leather clothes and Pig's leather overcoat. And leather does have some protective quality and would help weaken the blows very slightly, but in general they're just two people wearing leather, so when a blade hits them, the leather's not going to do all that much in stopping it. Other than that, they both look to just be wearing cloth mainly, that certainly isn't going to be resistant. So yeah, for this I think they both get a 5, very average but on par with each other. On to intelligence. For the Pig, I'm going to award her with a 10, as in my opinion there is pretty overwhelming evidence of her intelligence by looking at the many contraptions and adjustments she has made to her equipment. The only thing that maybe proves otherwise in terms of intelligence is that she makes a noise before doing a silent ambush. In all seriousness though, the Pig is clearly intelligent. We can actually use the map The Game as evidence for this also, as the Pig's workshop is actually on the map, where we can see all the contraptions like the reverse bear traps and their plans on how they're constructed and such. And these things are sprawled everywhere, like she's been through a lot of different tests to get these right and working to their best efficiency. Aside her reverse bear trap, she also has her hidden blade, which has some kind of mechanism also. We can look at the perk Hangman's Trick for the intelligence category too, as in that perk's description it actually directly says that the Pig has modified the hooks to alert her of tampering. With all this said, she gets a 10. Now, for Ghostface, although he isn't as smart, there is definitely a good case for his intelligence and also resourcefulness. Based on the lore, we can see that Ghostface managed to stay undetected in the town he was in whilst killing a bunch of people and then self-reporting on it Among Us style. The fact he did all this whilst remaining undetected, with the only person gaining evidence against him being himself, kind of like an evil Spider-Man, is quite impressive, and all pretty messed up too. With this said, I'm giving him an 8 here, which is quite high, and I realise that, but this guy was literally writing about his own murders and getting away with it. So, this brings the final scores to 43 to Pig, and 45 to Ghostface. So, Ghostface wins. This means he will be moving on to the next round and fighting against last week's winner in the second heat. Alright, and now it is time for the description of the fight. It was a cold evening at Gideon Meat Plant. Amanda was working late, tweaking the equally cold metal of a reverse bear trap. It wasn't like the other nights though. She could feel something different. Something off. She knew this place well, and there was something here that wasn't meant to be. She grabbed her pig mask from a shelf and fastened it onto her head, her concealed blade jumping from her sleeve. She turned quickly, a white blur whipping round a corner in the distance. What was that? She crouched down slowly, ready to hunt whatever was watching her down. She grabbed a trap on the way. The Ghostface entered the room as she left, moving slowly, quietly, without disturbing a single paper that lay on the pig's table. A roar erupted from behind him. He moved quickly, diving out of the way as the pig's hidden blade flew by, inches away from his head. He swung up quickly, the blade slashing past her torso, grazing it. The pig's left fist flew down, stunning Ghostface. She then swung the other, pinning her hidden blade into his hand, making him drop his knife. Whilst he was down, she reached for the reverse bear trap and pinned it onto his head whilst he remained stunned. The trap beeped as it activated. The Ghostface sprung back into action, grabbing his knife and thrusting up once more. This time it punctured the pig's stomach. He slipped away whilst he had the opening. The pig toppled over. The blade had done some damage. She looked around the room, searching for where the ghost had gone. Nothing. Then, beep, she swung around, her knife slashing at Ghostface. It cut him once, but he dodged the second time, returning his own blade, stabbing into the pig's side. He pinned her onto the floor, the trap still beeping on his head. He pulled her mask off, delivering more blows with his blade. Her mouth began to dribble with blood, and Ghostface pulled out his camera, pulling her head up to take another shot for his collection. This would be one to remember. Alright, well that's gonna do it for today. I do hope you enjoyed. Thanks, and goodbye.